Funny thing about life, people love to decorate the outside while the inside rots. They polish the surface, put on the smile, play the role, but deep down mess. Chaos hiding in corners, dust piled up in places they pretend not to see. And then the order comes: clean it. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Now. 3 parts. The ones you've been ignoring the longest. The mind you've poisoned with doubt, the heart you've buried under scars, and the space around you that reflects the storm within. You can't carry filth and expect clarity. The mind must be cleared of lies and noise. That's where the real dirt collects. Not on the floor, not on your skin, but in that crowded little theater between your ears. Every whisper you believed, every doubt you entertained, every insult you replayed 1,000 times, it piles up. And like dust, you stop noticing it after a while. You live in it, you breathe it, you carry it, but you think it's normal. That's the trick. You don't even realize your thoughts have been hijacked. The filth feels like home, and the lies sound like truth. Look at the way the mind works when it's dirty. You wake up already drowning in noise. Before your eyes even open, the voices are there: you're not enough. You can't do it. Why even try? That's not you speaking. That's residue. That's the garbage you've collected over years from people who never saw your worth. From failures you never let go. From fears you fed instead of starving. And you wonder why peace feels impossible. How could it not? When you're living in a landfill of your own thoughts. Clearing the mind isn't about pretending the dirt was never there. It's about dragging it out into the light. You've got to grab the lies one by one and rip them up by the roots. Question them, expose them, strip them until they lose their power. You believed them for so long that they became automatic. They fire off without permission, convincing you they're part of who you are. But they're not. They're squatters, parasites, and the only way to reclaim your space is to evict them. But here's the catch. Cleaning the mind isn't comfortable. It feels like war. Because lies don't leave quietly. They fight back. They scream louder. They twist themselves into new shapes. They disguise themselves as logic, as caution, as humility. They try to convince you that keeping them is safer than living without them. That's why most people quit halfway. They'd rather live with the poison than go through the pain of removing it. But poison doesn't stay still. It spreads. And the longer you let it sit, the deeper it seeps. Noise is another enemy. Not just the lies in your head, but the endless chatter you invite from the outside. Screens, voices, distractions. All of it filling the gaps so you never hear yourself think. And you like it that way, don't you? Because silence is dangerous. Silence forces you to face what's been festering. That's why you keep the noise on, always, like a shield. But all that does is bury you deeper under layers of static. The truth is, the mind can't heal when it's suffocating in constant noise. It needs space, it needs quiet, it needs stillness. Otherwise, it stays dirty, no matter how much you try to patch the surface. Cleaning the mind means discipline. It means choosing what you let in. Not every word deserves to land. Not every opinion deserves to root. Not every thought deserves to stay. Most of what fills your head doesn't belong there. But because you never filter it, it takes over. Imagine leaving your front door open every night, letting strangers wander through your home. That's what you do with your mind when you consume everything without question. You let intruders plant their dirt, and then you wonder why you feel heavy, why you feel lost. You can't escape the truth if the mind is filthy. Nothing else works. Your decisions rot. Your emotions twist. Your perspective collapses. You end up sabotaging yourself without even knowing why. You think it's the world against you, when really, it's your own unclean mind dragging you down. That's why the order comes, first clean it. Don't decorate it. Don't hide it. Don't excuse it. Clean it. Because the lies and noise won't leave on their own. You have to confront them, dismantle them, erase them until the space feels empty enough for truth to take root. The mind is the first battlefield. If you win there, you win everywhere. But if you ignore it, if you let the dirt pile higher and higher, eventually you forget what clarity even feels like. And then you're not living anymore. You're just surviving inside the prison built by your own thoughts. The heart must release its hidden poison. You carry it around like it's nothing, like it's normal, like everyone else must be dragging the same venom in their veins. Old grudges, betrayals, disappointments, they don't just vanish because you stop talking about them. They settle in your chest, heavy and sharp, waiting for the right moment to choke you. That's why some nights feel unbearable, why the weight won't lift, no matter how much you distract yourself. It's the poison. It's the bitterness you buried instead of cleansing. And the truth is, it eats you alive from the inside out. You tell yourself you've moved on. That time healed it. But time doesn't heal poison. It just hides it. And the longer it stays, the more damage it does. Every unresolved wound hardens into resentment. Every betrayal you never released becomes a chain. And soon enough, you don't even remember who you are without it. You start seeing the world through the filter of that pain. Trust feels dangerous, love feels foolish, joy feels fake. You don't realize it's not the world that changed. It's your poisoned heart distorting everything you see. The worst part, you get comfortable with it. You mistake numbness for strength. You call it wisdom, maturity, realism. But really, it's infection. You're not tougher, you're just colder. You didn't rise above the pain. You buried it deep enough to pretend it's gone. And you think that makes you safe. But all it does is rot you silently until one day it spills over in ways you can't control. Anger you can't explain. Jealousy that eats at you. Emptiness that won't leave. That's the poison making itself known. Releasing it isn't gentle. It feels like tearing open old wounds. It feels like bleeding all over again. That's why people avoid it. They'd rather carry the poison quietly than face the sting of letting it go. Forgiveness, for example, isn't about excusing the one who hurt you. It's about draining your own veins before you collapse. But forgiveness feels unfair, doesn't it? You want them to pay. You want justice. You want them to feel what you felt. So you hold the poison tighter, thinking it hurts them. But it doesn't. It only corrodes you. It takes courage to face the poison, to sit with the rage, the betrayal, the grief, and admit it's still there. To admit that no amount of distractions, no amount of pretending ever erased it. You've got to dig it out piece by piece, even when it burns. That means letting yourself feel what you've avoided, admitting what you lost, acknowledging the scars. Because only when you name the poison can you release it. Silence keeps it strong. Denial keeps it alive. But exposure weakens it, and once it's gone, once the poison drains, something shocking happens. Your heart feels lighter. Your chest doesn't ache the way it used to. You don't wake up bracing for impact every morning. Trust doesn't feel like suicide anymore. Joy doesn't feel like a trick. The world starts to look different, not because the world changed, but because your heart isn't distorting the view anymore. Without poison, the heart can breathe. And a heart that breathes gives life instead of draining it. Most people will never experience this freedom because they cling to their poison like a trophy. They tell themselves their pain defines them, that their bitterness is what keeps them strong. But strength isn't about carrying poison. It's about purging it. Anyone can drag chains. It takes real power to drop them. And when you finally do, you realize the poison wasn't protecting you. It was imprisoning you. The heart was never built to store venom. It was built to circulate life. But it can't do both. It can't pump poison and expect to stay alive. At some point, the order comes clear: release it. Not later. Not someday. Now. Because every moment you keep it locked inside, it spreads deeper. Until you forget what it ever felt like to live without it. The environment must reflect inner order. You can't live in chaos outside and expect peace inside. Look around you. What you see every day is a mirror of what's happening in your mind. The clutter on the floor, the mess on the desk, the pile of things you swore you'd deal with later. They're not accidents. They're symptoms. Proof that what's unresolved within you is leaking out into the space around you. You think you can separate the two, that your inner life is one thing and your surroundings are another, but they're not. They're tied together, like echo and sound. A room tells a story without words. Walk into a place that's suffocating with clutter, and you'll feel it before you notice it. Heavy air, restless energy, like the walls themselves are groaning under the weight of neglect. That's not just about dust or broken things. That's about reflection. A chaotic space whispers of a chaotic mind. And the tragedy is, most people normalize it. They get used to the disorder, step over the mess, numb themselves to the disarray. But the subconscious never stops noticing. It registers every detail, every unfinished task, every unresolved pile. And it feeds the stress quietly in the background until it becomes unbearable. Why do you think cleaning feels like relief? Why do you think clearing out a space feels like you've shed a weight you didn't know you were carrying? It's because your environment is a constant conversation with your soul. When it's clean, your mind breathes. When it's ordered, your focus sharpens. When it reflects care, your spirit feels valued. But when it's dirty, neglected, suffocating, you're reminded of every lie you've been telling yourself. That you're fine when you're not. That you're in control when clearly you're not. The environment exposes the truth you try to hide. But here's the real sting. It's not just about physical clutter. It's about energy. The people you keep around, the voices you let in, the habits that seep into your space. You can scrub the floors spotless, but if you keep poison in your circle, the environment is still polluted. You can buy the best furniture, the most expensive decorations, but if the energy in the room is heavy with anger, bitterness, resentment, the beauty means nothing. An environment isn't alive because of what fills it. It's alive because of what it allows or refuses. And the wrong presence can rot even the most perfect space. That's why order isn't optional. It's survival. The environment shapes how you think, how you feel, how you act. Wake up in a space that screams neglect, and you'll carry that neglect into your day. Wake up in a space that breathes clarity, and you'll feel different before you even open your mouth. People underestimate how much the unseen weight of their environment drags them down. They think it's harmless, that they can thrive while surrounded by clutter and noise. But you can't. You're lying to yourself. The proof is in your exhaustion, your lack of focus, your constant sense that something is missing. And what makes it worse? You choose it. Every day you choose whether your environment heals or harms you, whether it sharpens you or dulls you, whether it lifts you or buries you. That's the uncomfortable truth. Your space doesn't build itself. It's a reflection of what you tolerate, what you prioritize, what you allow. So when it's chaos, don't pretend it's just bad luck. It's your inner disorder written on the walls. And when you clean it, when you align it, when you breathe life into it, it's not just a room changing, it's you changing. The environment must reflect inner order, because you can't fool energy. You can't say you want clarity while living in filth. You can't beg for peace while surrounding yourself with noise. The outside always tells on the inside, and until you face that, you'll keep wondering why your life feels heavy while ignoring the weight piled up right in front of you. Avoidance multiplies the mess. That's the trick most people never see until it's too late. They think if they just look away, if they just step over it, if they just close the door on that one messy room, the problem will shrink. But it doesn't shrink. It grows. It festers. It expands in the shadows until one day the little thing you ignored has become a mountain standing right in front of you. Ignorance doesn't erase problems. It feeds them. Like a fire left unattended, it doesn't die quietly. It spreads. You know that drawer, the one crammed with things you swear you'll organize later. That's not just junk. That's a pattern. That's proof of how you treat life. Because the way you avoid small tasks is the same way you avoid bigger truths. You don't want to face the pain, the mistake, the memory, so you shove it in the back of your mind, hoping it'll vanish. But the mind doesn't forget. The heart doesn't forget. The soul keeps score. And every time you run from it, the mess gets louder, heavier, harder to carry. Avoidance feels safe at first. It feels like relief. You turn your head, pretend it's not there, and you trick yourself into thinking you're free. But it's false freedom. Because deep down you know it's waiting. You know the longer you ignore it, the uglier it's going to be when it comes back. And it always comes back. A debt unpaid doesn't disappear, it compounds. A wound untreated doesn't heal, it infects. A mess untouched doesn't vanish, it multiplies. The universe has a cruel sense of humor. It never lets you escape what you owe. Think about relationships. One honest conversation avoided today becomes 10 lies tomorrow. One apology you refuse to make turns into years of distance. One truth you bury in silence becomes a wall that no one can break through. That's how people lose everything. Not because of one big explosion, but because of thousands of tiny avoidances that piled up until the whole thing collapsed. And it's the same with yourself. That one habit you ignore because it's not that bad. That one thought you don't challenge because it's harmless. That one choice you delay because there's still time. Those are the cracks. And cracks don't stay cracks. They spread. They break foundations. Avoidance turns ants into monsters, sparks into infernos, whispers into screams. What makes it dangerous is how normal it feels. Everyone does it. Everyone convinces themselves they'll deal with it tomorrow. But tomorrow doesn't come. The problem grows while you sleep. And by the time you finally look at it, it's no longer something you can control. It's controlling you. You become a prisoner of the very thing you refuse to face. And here's the twisted part. You know it. Deep down, you always know when something's wrong. You feel the weight of it pressing on you in quiet moments. You feel the guilt when you look in the mirror. You feel the anxiety when you try to distract yourself. Avoidance doesn't erase the truth. It just forces you to carry it in silence. And silence makes it heavier. So every time you choose not to act, not to speak, not to confront, you're not avoiding the mess. You're multiplying it. You're feeding it. You're giving it room to grow until it becomes something you can't escape. And by then, what's no longer about cleaning up. It's about surviving the storm you created by doing nothing. Cleansing creates space for strength. Most people think strength is about adding more weight on the shoulders, more tasks on the list, more noise in the room, more trophies on the shelf. But strength doesn't grow in clutter. It grows in space. It grows when you strip away what doesn't belong, when you let go of the junk that suffocates you, when you stop dragging corpses of old habits and old pain into every new day. You want to be stronger. Then stop carrying what's killing you. Think about it. Have you ever seen a warrior walk into battle carrying every useless thing he owns? No. He carries only what serves him, only what sharpens him, only what will keep him alive. Yet people walk into their daily battles loaded down with regrets, grudges, fears, and excuses. They want strength, but they refuse to release weakness. They want power, but they hold on to poison. And then they wonder why they stumble under the weight. Cleansing is brutal because it forces you to admit what you've been hoarding. The lies you've told yourself, the relationships you've outgrown, the fears you've dressed up as caution. All of it takes up space. And as long as it sits there, no matter how strong you think you are, you're limited. A cluttered room weakens focus. A cluttered heart weakens courage. A cluttered mind weakens clarity. You can push, you can grind, you can fight, but you'll always hit the wall that your own mess has built around you. The power of cleansing is in subtraction, not addition. You tear down the noise until only what matters remains. And when the noise is gone, you discover something terrifying. You were always stronger than you thought. The strength was buried under all the weight you refused to drop. The energy was there, but it was tangled in distractions. The focus was there, but it was smothered under clutter. The courage was there, but it was drowning in excuses. Cleansing doesn't give you strength. It uncovers the strength you already had, but couldn't reach. People fear empty space. That's why they cling to the junk. They think if they let go, they'll have nothing left. But emptiness isn't weakness. It's potential. It's room for growth. It's space for new strength to rise. Look at a cleared battlefield. The silence, the stillness, the openness. That's where power can move freely. That's where strategy can breathe. The same is true inside you. When you cleanse your mind, your heart, your surroundings, you create space for focus, space for peace, space for fire. And from that space, strength grows unshaken. But make no mistake, cleansing hurts. It's violent. It rips away illusions you've been hiding behind. It exposes the parts of you that have been rotting under the surface. It forces you to admit you've been choosing weakness, not by accident, but by habit. And that's why most people never do it. They'd rather carry filth than face themselves. They'd rather drag chains than let them go. They're terrified of the silence that comes after the cleansing because silence leaves them face to face with who they really are. And yet, that's where strength is born, in the empty spaces, in the cleaned out corners, in the silence that feels unbearable until it transforms into clarity. When you strip yourself of the unnecessary, you find that the necessary is more powerful than you imagined. A sharpened blade cuts deeper than a pile of dull ones. A focused mind achieves more than a scattered one. A light heart carries further than one weighed down with bitterness. Cleansing creates space for strength because strength needs room to stretch, to breathe, to rise. It can't grow in a cage of your own making. It can't shine through the dirt you refuse to wash away. Every ounce of energy wasted holding on to the past is energy stolen from building the future. And every corner you refuse to clean is a corner that holds you hostage. Strength doesn't come from adding. It comes from clearing, from letting go, from creating the space where it finally has no choice but to reveal itself.